think just we're going to move into questions and answers now, but before we do that, I think just a couple of comments that are coming in is Vera and Mary, you'll be delighted to hear this, that we have a comment in talking about how fabulous the logo is, and kind of that it's a lovely logo, and I know that a lot of thought and effort and back and forth went into it, so people are liking the logo and what the logo is actually saying. And then the other other comment that's in Justin is around, I suppose, the importance of and the valuing of the support from you, I suppose, you as an individual, but also the importance of that interagency work between kind of you and a hospital in a statutory setting and what's happening in the community, and obviously working with the Infant Parent Support Project. Those bridges are there's bridges there back and forth between those two services. So I think just important to acknowledge that, you know, people are appreciative of your involvement in the community. I'm going to just go back to a couple of questions. So the first question is, and again, we maybe kind of, if I direct this one to Vera, Vera, we have a question in around kind of what has been the impact of COVID-19 on the delivery of the Infant Parent Support Project, or Mary as well can come in on that one. So how has COVID-19 impacted on service delivery?
Thanks, Laura. Yes, we have had to, I suppose, change how we deliver to families. We're doing it, thankfully the weather has been fantastic, so we were doing a lot of walking and talking in parks. We were knocking at doors and speaking to mums at the gates. We were doing food deliveries as well, and a lot of phone calls or you know, Zoom meetings and that sort of thing. So it has been difficult. We've just recently started maybe meeting the mums, building that back up again, so hopefully the numbers keep low. But it has been very difficult. I think for a lot of mums, particularly with new babies, are starting to feel very isolated because they can't have, you know, grannies and aunties and everybody in the house to see the new baby, so they're feeling quite alone. So, you know, it has been difficult. And I think both Mary and I have put in extra hours, and we've been trying to be there in the evening for our families if they needed a phone call. I think the work phone was on 24 hours. What do you find?
Yeah, but I think, yeah, absolutely, everything here said there. But I think, particularly in the beginning of the lockdown, it was, a lot of it was just by phone, because we couldn't go on the walks or couldn't meet people in parks. And I think that was incredibly difficult because people were very isolated. And it took a little while to get into the swing of the phone support, whereas people, you know, they said to us they were grateful to hear from someone in the outside world. But to do the actual work with somebody, you know, it's very important to see someone, to see how they're reacting, to, you know, see if they are, you know, maybe feeling a bit down, facial expression. So, but both for us, I think, and for the families, that initial period was a little bit difficult. But once you got into the swing of it, it became nearly a normal there for a while. So, whereas it did impact, you know, the project and how we work, I think we were able to work around it, you know, after a little bit of trying it out. Yeah. So yeah, definitely, but we're glad it's heading back to normal now.
You've been looking at innovative ways of responding to what how COVID has presented challenges by the sounds of things. Another question, kind of what type of substances are parents using that are linking in with the Infant Parent Support Project? So I think kind of Justin kind of named kind of maybe different developments or different trends emerging over time, but what are the main substances you find yourself working with?
Again, as Justin said, you know, it does go through a range, and it seems to be trends in different years. As Justin said, it's kind of crack cocaine at the moment, but we would have the whole gambit. A lot of weed, a lot of alcohol.
Methadone, benzos would be, definitely there.
Street methadone, there would be everything, really.
So it goes through a very, very wide range.
Yeah. And some, you know, some parents will be, you know, polydrug using, so there may be 2 or 3 substances that they're using.
The next question up for Mary. Mary, what are the you mentioned parenting programs when you were giving the overview. So people are interested in knowing what kind of parenting programs are you involved in, or are the parents engaging in when they link in with the service?
Okay, well we, sorry, yeah, I mean, programs, if teens are, you know, older, slightly older children, we would refer them to the Strengthening Families program perhaps, and that's a program, you know, I'd be involved with as well. So that's a family skills program, so that's not just the parents on their own, the children or teens, young adults are involved in that as well, and that's, you know, that's a 14-week program. So then there would be Circle of Security, so Vera would mainly run that, and I'd be her support on it. Yeah. So you want to
say it's an emotionally based evidence-based program, so it's about the emotions of parenting, so it's very much in the style of the infant mental health process. It's a lovely program.
It is, absolutely. And then recently the Parenting Under Pressure program, so that is designed really for parents who are experiencing issues with drugs and alcohol, or just, you know, a lot of pressure. So I would work with parents with using that program on a one-to-one basis. It can be done through a longer program, but I just find this, with the clients we're working with, it's working better on a one-to-one, either weekly or every second week. I would work with parents on that, and that again would be, a lot of it would be around where the parents are at, what all the supports around the parents are like, what the parents' mental health is like. It would work on their anxiety. There's a lot of mindfulness involved in it. So that's, again, very new, very new to that program, but it's lovely. It's a really nice program as well. And then baby massage. So with baby massage, we're working with mums or dads to use infant massage as a method of attachment and bonding with their child, and that can be done either a 6 or 8 week program, or we can do it sometimes on a one-to-one as well. So they're the main programs, but then we look around the community and see what other programs are available, what might suit a parent a little bit better. So, you know, what's running in other agencies. If it is an evidence-based program, we'll refer families into that as well. Hope that answers the question.
I feel like I'm flying through some of these questions, but I'm keeping an eye on the time, and there's a few kind of good questions in there, so I'm going to just keep on moving. There's a question, so Vera, you mentioned that the majority of the people who you engage with will be mothers, but there is some work with fathers. So we have a question around kind of what level of fathers will be engaging with the services. Sorry, now we just need to unmute it. Sorry.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Sorry, that took a minute. So
we have assistants to unmute us, Laura. We're not doing it ourselves. So
we don't do technology.
I'm not sure, do you mean levels or numbers? If it's numbers, the numbers aren't huge. No. If it's levels, we've worked with dads who have now got sole custody of their children, and they would have been very fearful, thinking of one dad in particular, of raising quite a small baby and a toddler on his own. He wouldn't have had a very nurturing upbringing himself, and he's doing an absolutely incredible job with those children. He's gone on every cooking course, any course that's been offered, he's on it. So we have worked with dads, and you know, it's great working with them, but the numbers aren't huge, and we would love to work with more dads.
And sometimes dads become involved because mum and dad are together, and mum is involved and dad's listening to what's going on, and then they become involved. So that's very often how dads are involved as well. But it's not a huge.
Okay, thanks Vera and Mary. So another question that's kind of directed now for, I suppose, for the whole panel. So there's two questions here. So one is, does your service only accept referrals from the Ballymun area, firstly? And then the second question is, do any of your services use the 40 developmental assets framework to look at protective factors to help parents? So again, maybe if Justin or Julianne want to come in on that, and as well for Vera and Mary, so our referrals only from Ballymun, and then another question around the 40 developmental assets framework. We'll get you unmuted now in just a sec. Justin, I think, wants to come in there. Do you, Justin? There he goes.
Yeah, well in relation to the referrals, I think Vera will be able to clarify that. And but in relation to the 40 developmental assets framework, I'm not going to lie, I'm unfamiliar with the 40 developmental assets framework. So maybe if Julianne or one of the others want to take that, I don't want to guess it.
This is Julianne speaking. I'm not familiar with that framework either, so I'd be really interested. I was just thinking when I read that question that I'd be interested in looking it up after this. And in terms of referrals, received referrals, to work with our infant mental health therapeutic team, it is just from the area, and at the moment our sole referral agents are the public health nurses, just because we have quite a small capacity at the moment in terms of our team. And then across all 4 teams, engaging in all the different programs like Circle of Security and Parents Plus and Language and Literacy, it is just across the Ballymun area. But we do provide the training to whoever's interested from across the country. So that's a possibility.
Okay, thanks, Julianne. And just Mary and Vera, at the risk of having you inundated with referrals, do you take referrals from outside the Ballymun area?
Yeah. Well, it's funny, we take parents, we do, in saying that, but they would have a Ballymun connection. So there would be mums maybe who are homeless, and we would have been working with them when they were in the hotel or wherever they were placed during that. And then they might be rehomed in Santry or Drumcondra, and we would continue to work with them. Or there might be a young girl who's a new mum and her parents are here in Ballymun, she's up here all the time, but she's maybe not living in the area, and we would link in with them.
Or their children might be older children,
but
some connection.
Yeah, but as Justin said, you know, this service really needs to be rolled out. I mean, Mary and I have huge numbers of clients, and we could work 10 days a week if there was 10 days a week. So it would be great to yeah.
But primarily it is Ballymun.
Primarily, some connection to Ballymun.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for answering that question. There's another couple of questions in there, and there's one around kind of working, I suppose, around the relationship after a child protection issue and how do you kind of work around that. But we're seriously out of time, so I'm gonna have to kind of push that on. I know Huey is kind of waiting in the background there to kind of close the event. But before we do that, so we'll put up the contact details, because again, even those questions, if people feel that their questions weren't fully answered today, that you will be able to get in contact with the panelists kind of afterwards. So people's contact details are there. Just 2 other things to mention before I forget. So just one around, I know Julianne is talking about kind of training in terms of infant mental health. Here in Arús, we do also have training that is specific to the topic of women and substance use. So we have a 1-day kind of introduction to issues around women's substance use and kind of pregnancy and kind of what arises from that. But we also have a collaboration with our university partner, UCD, the School of Social Policy, Social Work and Social Justice, and we have a postgraduate level 9 professional cert in women and substance use. So again, if anybody is interested in further training around women and substance use, you can contact us here as well. And the other really important thing to say is, and really where the webinar has originated from, is that we are currently working Arús, the Ballymun Youth Action Project, Ballymun Local Drug Task Force and the Infant Parent Support Project. We're currently kind of underway working on a research practice guide, which has been a little bit delayed because of COVID, but we're hoping by the end of this year that we will be launching a practice guide related to the work and the practice of the Infant Parent Support Project. And we'll be engaging with all their kind of our local partners around that practice guide. But again, we kind of think that that'll be a really exciting development and something kind of to look forward to towards the end of the year. So contact details are there, training is mentioned, the practice guide is mentioned. I think that's probably it from my end.